If we write all the humanity's data on a stack of A4 papers and climb that stack, we'd be well outside of the solar system. Meta and Google, companies that make most of their revenue from data, are among the top 5 most valued companies in the world. The room temperatures inside a data center can reach as much as 100 degrees Celsius, which is when water starts to boil.
But this new data
shows
the data from the weather agency.
New data shows
BI data.
a lot of data.
New data.
and user data.
data brief.
Data.
But what is data? Have you ever wondered what happens to that selfie you just posted, or where your last text message is actually stored? Every time we check the weather, like a post, or send a message, we are creating what we call data. Every single day, you're creating pieces of yourself in the digital world. And today, I'm going to show you something fascinating about it that most people don't realize. Watch this video to learn all you need to know about data. Data is any information stored in a digital format. Let's break this down so anyone can understand it. The current temperature is a piece of information. We refer to it as data when that information is stored on a computer. Most of us have these in some form at home. More precise, this data is stored on, well, a data storage like this one or this one, a hard drive. Problem with data, however, is that there's lots of it. If we measure temperatures for every populated place on the planet at each full hour during just one day, we'd have 12 million data points. That's a lot. If you'd had $12 million, you'd consider yourself rich, right? It would take 2 years to write this data manually on a stack of papers. And that stack of papers would reach a height of 24 meters or around 78 feet. That's an 8 stories high residential building. But that's still nothing compared to the total amount of data we generate each year. Imagine we do this temperature measurement for a whole year. And we also want to store historical data for the last 100 years. This $200 drive can't store that much data anymore. And still, this is just a teeny fraction of data that humanity has created so far. So how much data do we collectively possess? So much that no one can comprehend these numbers. Suffice to say, if we write all the humanity's data on a stack of A4 papers and climb that stack, we'd be well outside of the solar system. Remember this data storage called a hard drive? Well, a lot of data is stored on personal devices like this at our homes or businesses. Majority of data today is stored in data centers. What the heck is a data center? Picture a building as big as a football field, filled with countless digital storage units. These buildings are called data centers, and they're like giant digital libraries where all our memories, messages, and cat videos live. Right now, as you watch this video, it's being served to you from one of these massive buildings somewhere in the world. Because we now suddenly have access to vast amounts of data that someone else has collected, we can do a lot of cool things. We can check the current weather in Kuala Lumpur from the comfort of our home so we know what to pack for that trip. Or check the traffic and make decisions on how to avoid getting stuck on the way to our destination. Today, everything and everyone is creating data. As you scroll your Instagram feed, Meta, the company behind Instagram, is recording your behavior, your likes or comments on posts, or even just how much time you spent on a specific post is recorded as data. Then they analyze this data to understand the type of content you like and in turn serve more of that to keep you scrolling longer. Why do they want to keep you scrolling longer? Because it's not just posts we see in our Instagram feed, we also see ads. Scrolling longer means you'll be seeing more ads. And these ads are, guess what, targeted for you based on the content you've been looking at. The more targeted ads you look at, the more likely you'll spend money on an advertised product or service. You'll buy something. And this is how Meta, X, TikTok, YouTube, and others make money. They use data they have about us to keep us longer on their platforms, in turn collecting more and more money from advertisers serving us ads. Meta and Google, companies that make most of their revenue from data, are among the top 5 most valued companies in the world. And that's why data is the new gold. And the aim to collect as much data as possible is the new gold rush. These companies are the winners in the new gold rush. But data crunching is also improving the everyday experiences of individuals like you and me in various ways. We can hail a ride on apps like Uber basically anywhere and at any time we need it. How is this possible? There's definitely not enough cars around the world for everyone. Well, Uber analyzes all the data about our rides in real time so they can predict the demand and adjust the supply and the prices momentarily. They're always able to get your ride within just a few minutes because they're predicting you will need a ride based on the data they have about you. Another example is personalized medicine. Pharmaceutical companies are analyzing genetic data and patient histories and are now able to create tailored treatments to individual patients. Big businesses and individuals like you and me are the winners of the new gold rush. So who are the losers? Well, we are. Or rather, our planet is, and that makes all of us on the planet losers. How come? Well, here's the part that really surprised me during my research. These data centers use as much electricity as entire cities. And because the electricity we provide globally is still mostly based on fossil energy like coal, these data centers are quickly becoming one of the biggest contributors to releasing of CO2, carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere. And the more of that gas that gets into the atmosphere, the more it warms up the thin layer of air surrounding our planet and causes all sorts of problems for us. So how serious is the so-called CO2 footprint of the data center companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft? By 2030, the number of data centers will grow so much that they will contribute up to 10% of all global CO2 emissions. A way to combat this is to produce and use more electricity from renewable sources to power the growing demand for data storage. This will make running these data centers more sustainable, as renewable energy sources do not create CO2 emissions. But the CO2 pollution is not the only problem our hunger for more data is producing. The data centers produce other types of pollutions too, such as heat and noise. These two are connected. Remember how your laptop gets hot after you've been working on it for a while? The same thing happens with all those computers and storage in a data center. The room temperatures inside a data center can reach as much as 100 degrees Celsius, which is when water starts to boil. To prevent all that hardware inside to start melting down or catching fire, the data centers are air conditioned. You guessed it. The AC units inside these data centers are a huge contributor to the whopping power consumption in a data center. And not only that, but they are noisy. They never stop, as the need for storing and crunching data globally also never stops. If you happen to live near a data center, you'll be very annoyed by this. But here's something cool. Imagine using the heat from all those computers to warm up homes in winter. That's exactly what some clever communities are doing. They are turning what was once a problem into a solution that helps regular people like you and me. Once that excess heat gets harvested away from a data center and used to provide heating at our homes, there's not going to be a need for so much air conditioning, which also means there's going to be less noise pollution. Next time you take a selfie or send a message, remember you're part of this incredible digital data story. And just like we care for our environment, we need to think about our digital footprint too. If you learned something new today, help spreading this knowledge by hitting that like button.